Hey everybody, this is Colton with POSGuys.com, and today we're going to be talking about something that's come up here at our office a lot lately, and that's how software developers can get compatible point-of-sale hardware into their hands of their customers in the most user-friendly way possible. And it seems like, once a week we're having a conversation like this, and there's tons of different ways that you can sort of approach this topic. There's definitely lots of considerations to have in mind, each with their own sets of pros and cons. There's just a lot that you have to figure out. So I figured it would be a great opportunity to record a video sort of specifically about this and get an expert on the line here to chat with me. Here today, we have Kate Orara. She's the business development manager at Micronic. She's been a big partner for us over the last few years, and a big part of her job is actually working directly with software developers to game plan this sort of thing. So I figured she'd be perfect for the job. Kate, thank you so much for being here today.
No, thank you for having me. I'm glad to have this conversation. I'm really excited. And yeah, my role at Star, I'm the partner development manager. And so what I focus on is literally what I can do to help our partners, especially our ISVs, be successful in promoting not only their software, but their software in conjunction with our hardware and delivering it to them, delivering a cohesive, successful solution for whatever the challenges an end user may face. So, and I'm really excited to have this conversation today.
Oh, again, thank you for being here. So, sort of break into this conversation, is going to kind of be broken into three separate parts here, and I'll do little links in the, little chapters on the video so you can scroll to a part that's more applicable to you. So first, we're going to talk about how you pick the hardware, because I think in a lot of ways that's the most important decision you can make very early on, right? Sort of what hardware are you going to support, and what brands, what types of hardware, and sort of how are you going to source that product, right? How are you actually going to warehouse it, and how are you get it into the hands of your customers? And then the third and final part of the video is how you support it, right? It's one thing to just get the hardware and send it in a box and have the customer kind of figure out what they need to do with it. But the really good software and the really, what really makes a great customer experience is when you're actually providing that support and help making people feel supported from start to finish. So picking hardware, right? Tons of different brands, million different receipt printers. What are some of the big considerations that you see ISVs weighing on their end, and how might Star be able to help with that?
So I'm sure between both of us, between POS Guys and Star, there are several resources, blogs, videos, podcasts, and so on that cover this topic. But to briefly touch on this, it's highly recommended that the ISV work with a hardware manufacturer's integration team as early as possible, like early as possible. I know at Star, I will say our integrations team is extremely, I might be a little biased, but they are so extremely gifted and they do such a great job just really making sure that they test and they do everything right. Every ISV that we've ever worked with is extremely happy working with our integrations team. But what we do is we recommend you work with us as early as possible so we can actually help recommend the hardware that we have that best suits the software. When it comes to the hardware itself, yes, Star is known as a receipt manufacturer, but over the years, it has become so much more. We also have desktop and handheld scanners. We have cash drawers. We have label printers, mobile printers, scales, which is even broken down into high precision and standard ones that you might see in delis and butcheries and froyo, et cetera. And now even tablet stands and mounts. So obviously you don't need to integrate the stands and mounts with integration with the software, but all of the others are extremely important to work with our integration team to determine and test prior to launching. So when the end user gets the hardware, it's easy to just simply set up and plug and play. I think the biggest concern that we notice is that yes, ISVs do reach out and work with our integrations team, but so many times they decide afterwards that they may not wish to sell the hardware along with their software, leaving the end user to find, how shall I say, other third-party sites to procure hardware. I'm just going to leave it at that. And then I know this is kind of stealing your thunder to the next step, but this can be a huge problem because the end user may not purchase the correct part with the appropriate interface, because Star has several interfaces. And if that's the case, the unit or units won't work when they try to plug and play. Then the ISV is fielding frustration calls from the end user. End user has to work on returning the product to get the right one. The store opening is delayed, and it's a conundrum. So it escalates extremely quickly. But those are some of the things that those are the conversations that we like to have up front with the partner. That's why it's so important. Get in there early, talk early.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up. We actually did a video with your integrations team. Gosh, would have been last year at this point, sort of talking about, that we did a deep dive, sort of talking about the different ways that you can sort of set up your receipt printers in particular, right? And so I'll actually link that in the video somewhere here at the top. You could do the fancy YouTube thing there. But I also, appreciate, how you talked about, the end user experience, right? Like just literally yesterday, I was sort of talking with some sales folk on my side, and one of our support people, they kind of share a cubicle with us on the other side, and they had fielded a customer who ordered the wrong receipt printer interface because they had, gone to one of those third-party sites that you had talked about on the software developer didn't provide a ton of information and resource on how to locate the right printer. She opens in like a week and she is so stressed out and she was like almost crying, right? She was on the brink of tears because she was just so stressed out. And that's like the sort of thing that could have easily been solved, right? And not been an issue if the software developer that she had been working with had put in the extra time to, establish, a better way of ordering hardware. So it's actually a really great segue, and I really appreciate you bringing that up. And then another thing to sort of consider when you're certifying hardware is what the supply chain availability is going to look like, right?
Yes.
And that's the sort of thing that as a software developer can be really hard to gauge what that looks like. And that's something that, on your side, at Star, and then on my side as a reseller, we have a very, we can kind of peek behind the curtain, right? And sort of see what those things look like. And so we can advise on that. So.
And making sure, I mean, Star is a very channel friendly manufacturer. In the fact it only goes through the channel. So we make sure that we have our distributors are very well stocked with products. You're not worrying about delays or anything like that. And even just to go back to the whole, you as an ISV, especially if you're coming to market with a great solution, you work with an end user. The saying goes, the thing about first impressions is you only get one. And if your first impression is you delayed a store opening, it's not good. You do not want that label on your business. So make sure that you plan ahead of time and have some sort of timeline, but make sure that the hardware itself is and how you plan on going to market is early in that step, in that timeline.
Right. Yeah. And so all of this kind of, is a pretty natural segue to that second part of the relation, or the second part of this problem that we're grappling here. So you've sort of sourced or what hardware you're going to use. You have the compatibility list. It's all nice and on your website. The next big question, right, is how do you actually get that hardware into the hands of your end users? And there's like 4 main ways that I have kind of conceived that you can do this, and I've seen people sort of approach. And later on, I'll kind of break those down and we can chat about that. But I think the big question that an ISV needs to answer very early on, once they've certified this hardware, is whether they want to make selling the hardware a profit center for their business. And I think that's the biggest determination that will kind of determine where you want to go here, right? If you do want to make money on the hardware and you want to make that a part of your, a revenue stream for your company, you might want to look at purchasing and stocking the hardware yourself, right? And there's definitely some pros to that. You definitely have flexibility in configuration. You can bring all the units in-house. If you're using something like Star Cloud Print, you can get that all preloaded and ready to go. But it can also be expensive, right? It's labor intensive. Generally, warranties start moving as soon as you order it. So if you're not if you're holding on to the product for a long time, warranties start to run out, and it can be really trouble for your business to scale up if you're handling all that. But the pro is that it's, easy for you to, make a profit on the product by just scaling up and, charging a little bit more to your end users. So that's like one way that we've seen a lot of customers do it. A lot of software developers rather do it. You can purchase directly through a manufacturer partner warehouse. There's a little bit less of an upfront cost than warehousing yourself, but you do lose some of that configuration flexibility. And then you're typically you're still on the hook for a shipping cost and sort of communicating with the end users on the status of packages, supporting the hardware. So, there's a couple different ways that you can handle that. But if you're not looking to make it a cost, revenue stream, you could just do nothing, right? Like we see some people that just give their end users a shopping list and say, good luck. There's generally no effort really, on the ISV side, but you do lose a lot of control over that process. And you do risk customers ordering the wrong things, delaying onboarding, impacting the customer experience, right? Kind of what I talked about earlier. So, Kate, I'm interested to hear from you, right? Like you're having conversations with software developers all the time about this exact thing, right? Sort of helping them game plan, figure out where, which approach is best for them. What are some of the biggest challenges that you hear from software developers around this?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head as far as like the different options that they're considering. But like I mentioned earlier, the moment the ISV begins working with Star is when they need to consider its go-to-market strategy. So our integrations team, a lot of times, even while the testing is going on, they're going to connect the software company to the business development team for us to have the conversation. What are your goals? And then we basically can provide the options. How can we help you with marketing? How can we help you to do a press release? How can we give you support? Images? What are you guys looking for? How is the hardware going to get to the end user? We do try to discourage the shopping list, figure it out kind of method. If that's the way that a software company wishes to do things, I mean, obviously it's not our place to tell them what to do. We just would recommend against it. And it's not for, you really should buy the hardware. I mean, it's more so again, that customer satisfaction for the end user. So STAR is big on its ability to partner with ISVs and resellers, but it really doesn't just stop there. We have our Empower Partner program, and it's more than it basically is a discount program. It does provide our channel partners, our software companies, discounts and top pricing on our hardware, but it provides a community that allows partnership within it to deliver cohesive solutions to the channel and beyond. So the whole purpose of our Empower Partner program, it's funny, I love the name of it, Empower, because it's empowering a community of channel partners to work together to serve the end customer. And that's when we provide the options as far as maybe even partnering with one of the resellers to help with those types of things. I mean, the shopping scenario, the shopping list, it happens all too often. And like I said, you only get one impression. So if the end user is having to make phone calls, return hardware, and so on, that's going to result in the delay of opening a store or servicing a customer. And that impression is not a good one. So, but if you do purchase and stock the hardware yourself, and we do have a lot of legacy partners who use this approach, but some of the smaller ISVs, some of the other smaller software companies, it's not feasible or easily. It's not like they have a massive warehouse that they can stock this product. A lot of them have small businesses. A lot of them are even overseas, and they're just trying to expand in the United States, or they're in Canada or whatever. And they all have remote offices. They don't I mean, I'm sure someone's wife or significant other or husband would not be too happy having a bunch of TSP 100 boards in their garage. I know I know my husband would probably be mad at me, like, why do you have all these printers here? So
Make a
in
nice
that
bedside stand.
yeah, exactly. If we're turning this into furniture until we can ship it out, it's just not feasible. So many of the ISVs also, they feel that they have a great software, but when it comes to the hardware, they struggle because not only are they selling the hardware, but they're also providing the support. And ISVs are welcome to do this, and some of them love to do it, but some of them it's challenging to do, and it's outside of their wheelhouse or comfort level. So I have learned over the years that the most successful you can be is focusing on what you do best. And for many of these ISVs, it's producing an incredible software to help end users be more efficient and profitable. Do you really want to deal with the noise of the fielding the phone calls? And I will say, and I'm going to say, like, Star's failure rates and all of that stuff are extremely, like, very, very low. It's not like you get a bunch of those calls. But let's be honest here, some of these end users, they even just trying to hook something up, we make it as easy as possible, but sometimes it's people still struggle. Let's just put it that way. People still struggle with it. And for an ISV, it's like I would need a whole head count to do that role,
Yeah.
or partner with somebody to do it for me.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing that up. It's kind of what you'd brought it up before, right? That thought of support, right? Especially if you're a smaller team, do you really want to have to devote a third or a fourth of your total, labor capacity to fielding support calls? And like
Exactly.
Star is a great product, but sometimes it's as simple as the printer cable is plugged in backwards, right? And you can spend an hour troubleshooting that.
I'm just saying
But
that would probably be me. I am not, I am a little technically challenged. I think I was born in the wrong era, but yeah, that would, I mean, it happens. And, we do actually have ISVs that purchase through other resellers. And this does help to alleviate that stress. But the other option, there's another option to consider as well. And so remember earlier, I talked about that community that Star has within its Empower program. This is where I will actually, when I or someone on my business development team connects with an ISV, we actually will connect an ISV to a few reseller partners who can actually sell the hardware on the ISV's behalf. So Star, software company, and someone like POS Guys will
look at that.
collaborate on the SKUs that the ISV is integrated with. And basically, POS Guys will create a page, a landing page, or some sort of microsite for the ISV to direct its customers to for purchasing of the hardware, and just having the SKUs that they're integrated with. This not only helps to, excuse me, to remove what could be a headache of selling the hardware for the ISV, but also ensures that only the hardware being displayed are the items that the ISV is certified with Star. So now you have a customer who's purchasing the right hardware that will actually be plug and play rather than some guessing game, which leads to frustration in the future. So this is a service that is which is subsect within the Stars Empower partner program we call Delegate. And it has been widely successful. Our ISVs love it because the delegate allows them to do what they do best. Work with the reseller, POS guys, on making sure the hardware is not only correct, but stocked to assure a quick turn time for the end user. And that makes things seamless.
Yeah, thanks for sort of tooting our horn here. I really appreciate that, Kate. But yeah, I had mentioned, that there's 4 different ways to sort of procure hardware, and that is the 4th one. And in my biased opinion, I think that that's the way that makes the most sense, right? Especially exactly for the reason that you said, right? Software developers are great at making software, so they should focus on that. And it gives an opportunity for someone like POS guys, us, who are really good at doing the hardware, to sort of partner, and sort of leverage what we do best, right? Kind of what you noted before, if a software developer works with us, we'll build them a custom microsite. We'll dedicate an account manager to that software. So you'll get the pre-sale support. Hey, how many printers do I need for this setup? do I need, does a cash drawer make sense in this situation or this situation? How do I, what's the range on this Wi-Fi card, right? Like questions like that come up all the time. And that's where we can really help, take a load off of the ISV by answering some of those questions for them, right? And then we'll handle the shipping and the logistics, get it to the end user, and then provide some of that technical troubleshooting support, say, should the receipt printer, be calibrated, not calibrated correctly. It's like printing off a whole inch or printing backwards or something. Those are all the sort of services that we can provide that take that load off of an ISV and sort of give them the time to do what they do best, right? Which is develop features that bring in more customers. I think it's just a win-win for both sides. So I really appreciate you bringing that up.
Absolutely.
That kind of perfectly segues into this last element of this question, right? Which is actually getting the support to your customers. And I've talked a little bit about what our support team can do for an ISV, and sort of how that contrasts to if an ISV was to do all the work themselves. But I'm interested to hear from you. What does a support team look like for a typical ISV? Okay, I mean, you're working with folks all the time.
It's a really good question because it kind of varies by the ISV. I will say we work with a lot of the key players in all the various industries: retail, restaurant, cannabis, grocery, the convenience stores, healthcare, like the full gamut. But a lot of the kind of the small to medium sized ISVs, they run a lean and mean team. They have a great software solution, but it's not like they have 10 people sitting to field service calls and to assist with um, support or anything like that. Now they do, and they do what they can, or maybe they outsource it to another company. And Star has a great technical support team that can support the ISVs. But and we provide all sorts of great tools within our homegrown customized partner portal where ISVs can access SDKs, manuals, marketing images, and so on. But a lot of times what I have found are these ISVs, because they kind of run that lean and mean team, they are doing what they can to say, okay, well, where can I'm not saying cut costs, but where can I work smarter instead of harder, making sure that we are maximizing our team to its fullest while not having to spend an arm and a leg on additional headcount. And that's where delegate also can shine. That's where, again, POS guys would come in and would do a really good job in supporting those partners, making sure that they kind of act at. And the thing that's really cool about it, especially through the delegate program, is when the delegate works for the ISV, or does that kind of support, that tier 1, level 1 support, they actually might help the ISV discover some bugs that need to be fixed. And then that's stuff that really they determine, is it a hardware issue or is it a software issue? And if it's a software issue, then that gives the ISV quick access to be like, okay, this is what we need to do to fix it. And they're able to do it in a quick and efficient manner, so that the end customer doesn't skip a beat. So really, it truly is a great partnership between the software company, a reseller, and a manufacturer. We all work together to make sure that a seamless solution is provided to the end user, and the end user feels love and support without skipping a beat. But yeah, it's as far as the majority of what I'm seeing, and I'm sure people that are watching this, those ISVs, we got you. I know. It's like I said, they're growing. They're trying to figure out how they can grow. And maybe them focusing on what they do best, which is pushing and selling the hardware and partnering with somebody else to deal with the other stuff, is actually be more beneficial for them.
Yeah, you kind of have this layered defense strategy, right? You got us on the front, or a reseller in general, but hopefully us, sort of in that front line, right? And then you kind of have Star support backing that up. Then you kind of have the ISV support for the really technical stuff, and for the software support especially, where you know the software better than anybody, right? So it makes sense for you to be focusing all your time on that.
Well, and the beauty of it, like this is where Star comes in. You're like, okay, well, Star has the hardware, and then what does it do? Star really tries to, again, we bring that community together. We make sure that whatever the reseller is selling on behalf of the ISV has access to that. It's transparency. Everybody sees everything. So it's not like some ISVs, if you're watching this, like, well, I have no control. You do. You do. You're in the Empower program. You are empowered to see everything. You are empowered to have a relationship. And POS Guys is one of our best partners to doing this program. A lot of times I will always recommend Colton and POS Guys, but what I do, and no offense, I basically will provide a list. I'll give an ISV, I'm like, here are a couple people to talk to. Interview them all, identify what you need, what your needs and desires are, and see who ticks the boxes. And then you pick. You tell Star which one is the best one for you. It just so happens that POS Guys has done such a great job that they do a good bit of that support. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to tell you who to go to. I want to empower the partner to make the decision, and I provide all the potential tools needed, and then I support the next steps.
Yeah. And I think that's that's a great way of looking at it, right? Like even on our end, it's all about making people's lives easier. If we can make, a software developer's job just a little bit easier, free up a little bit more time so that they can be a little more successful, right? Everybody wins, right?
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
well, Kate, I think that's kind of the full circle roadmap, right? You develop the hardware, source it, and support it, and
it's more like a teaser.
business.
I think that there's a lot more that can be dove into, but hopefully this is easily digestible to your audience. So I hope if anybody has any questions, I encourage them to reach out to you or to me, and we are happy to talk more about how this can benefit a software company.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. To anybody watching, like Kate said, we've only scratched the surface. There's so many things and so many considerations to go into this that every approach is a little different. Every solution is a little bit unique. So feel free to give us a call, give Star a call. Kate, like I said, great to work with. We're more than happy to answer any questions you have and sort of, play that consultative role. And hopefully, we can all work together to make your job a little bit easier and ultimately grow your business. So, Kate, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure, as always. To everyone watching, hope you all have a great day.